Hey, what's up? We're in the next part. Please go check out the previous part to get your bearings. But a little bit of a recap on the previous part. I just want to rap about that for a little bit. I was telling you guys in the previous part about how it is that I came to a conclusion that I needed to leave my ex. I mean, I had been coming to that conclusion pretty much all throughout the relationship from month 6, but I've been struggling to leave. And remember, I told you guys about that random prognosticator KwaZulu-Natal that told my ex a very powerful man is going to give him a run for his money. And then I got to a place in my life at that stage where I was still with my ex, struggling to get out, really having a hard time in the relationship to get what I needed there. And my ex told, not my ex, sorry, but then my gut feeling told me that the only way that I'm going to be able to leave this relationship is if at all I leave my ex for another guy whose feelings for him are going to be overwhelming and all-consuming in comparison to what I feel for my ex, that I would not feel any iota of guilt or compassion to go back to him because it had to be done. Leaving had to happen. Okay? I came to that place and I imagined that what it is that I basically gut felt at that stage was me being told that I needed to meet another boyfriend. I didn't realize that it was God that was saying, this is spiritual and you can't leave by physical means. You can't just make a decision out of your own willpower to dump a boyfriend, stay gone, exercise restraint and self-control to not go back, take a break for a few months and then date again until you get married. What I didn't realize was that God was rather telling me that you're gonna have to get out of this from being spiritually released, set free. But I don't know. So, however, because I came to the conclusion that I needed to leave my ex for another guy, even though I never wanted to do that, I wanted a break in between, okay, so that I would be healthy mentally to enter into a new relationship, healed, scars and everything having been bandaged first, for crying out loud. Plus, I was in a relationship for 5 years, and this time around I wanted to make sure that whoever it is that I end up with is my husband, because I was tired, or I didn't want to add to my body count. My ex was the 5th guy I'd ever slept with, and I didn't want to enter number 6, right? I just was not comfortable with that. So basically the Holy Spirit was convicting me of a lot at that stage, but I was still ignoring him. I had heard the gospel somewhat at that party, continued to Google, never really actually got saved. I, however, was starting to pray, but I never actually really got saved because I was still in the world. I was lost. I was not surrendered. I had prayed a prayer of salvation, but I'd never surrendered. So all of y'all who think you're born again just because you said a sinner's prayer, guys, it really doesn't work out that. It doesn't work that way, okay? I hadn't surrendered. So here it is that I'm convicted by the Holy Spirit. There was a lot of spiritual, therefore, presence around me. Whether or not you are indwelt by the Holy Spirit or the Holy Spirit is from without you, convicting you of sin, just his presence alone is enough to really wreak manifestation havoc in demonic activity. My ex was at that stage dabbling with stuff. He was messing with me using that stuff, and he was trying to also use it to improve his life. I told you that one time he came to my apartment with a car and a whole wardrobe haul, and it happened literally overnight. And I now today have come to conclude that he had done some ritual to get money, to get a business deal proliferated. That's why he was able to suddenly just go out like that, right? His personality had not yet at this stage transformed to a point of grand irritation, to a point of absolute, I can't recognize you anymore. So I was still with him, but I believe this is information. Please tell me, God, that this was not erased. No, it was not. It was in the footage that was deleted. I'm gonna get to that place. We had started using condoms, but I'm gonna get there, okay? Because I lost that footage. I was speaking for all of 40 minutes and I lost it. Now I realize I actually didn't cover it, so you're gonna have to hear it. Nonetheless, here's what is that I'm busy thinking about, right? And then I got booked on training, negotiation skills. I still remember the training. I still remember the training. And if the guy that I met there is watching this, because weekends almost done itself. The training was negotiation skills, okay? I rocked up late, I was huffing and puffing, literally, it was just so uncouth of me, because I went first to the office. My colleague was like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in training. And then I ran. MTN had these 2 buildings next to each other. One was in Constantia, the other one was 14th Avenue, the main innovation center. I worked at the innovation center. Training was in Constantia, so I had to literally drive out of the premises and then to Constantia. So I was late and I was running and stuff, huffing and puffing and blowing the house down like the big bad wolf. And I was my face is very oily, so I had these dots of sweat on my nose when I opened the door. I got training literally about an hour late. Okay, thankfully the facilitator was a sweetheart and a darling, so she didn't like give me shade, pass me attitude, or even embarrass me in front of everybody. She was like, it's okay, right? So I walk in, and you know, the layout of the tables was such that every table was already populated, and there was only one table open where there were chairs in it, and there were these two guys sitting there. So it was at the far extreme, like, of the room, the very far end of the room. So I had to walk in front of everybody. The walk of shame was, sorry guys, sorry, to go sit down. But to make me feel comfortable, at rest and at ease, there was at that distant table where there were these two guys chilling, sitting there. A guy stood up, right, and pulled out a chair for me, basically to be like, relax, it's okay, you don't have to be all flattered or flustered from your obvious late state because you were clearly running. Relax, it's cool, come sit here. He basically gestured to say, come sit here, it's okay. And yo guys, from a distance, I've got an eye issue, right? So I've always been kind of farsighted, can't really see properly, but you could see from a distance that was a handsome man. He was tall. I'm tall. I'm 1.75 meters tall, and that guy towered above me despite me wearing heels. That was rare much, okay? Yeah, he was tall, and he looked handsome from a distance until I got close and confirmed he was, because you know I got an eyesight issue. And he stood there waiting for me to come and sit down, and I just thought, wow, what chivalry. So watch right? So he's hot, and I'm just like, whoa. Could I not have rocked up matte on my face without having run here first, because now I just look gangster, right? My hair, usually I used to have it in braids and plaits, but I was in my afro, not out like this. This is not my afro, my actual real afro underneath, which is jet black. I had sort of kind of rolled it up into some hairstyle, and it was a quick little thing that I did in the morning. All right, didn't think much of it. So I rock up in that joint. This dude opens the chair, and I sit down, and I guess I sort of kind of acknowledge him on some things, and I realize that he's like super cute. So I'm just like, whoa, what's going on here on the right of me? Something's up. Somebody give me air. Yo, guys, yes, like it anyway, whatever, right? And then he grabs his name card, you know, those name cards that you write your name on in training for everybody to know you and whatnot. He then flips it over, you know, to basically show me this is me. And I gave him the name Zama in the previous part. He's like, you know, showing me this card, gesturing with it. I read it, realize that he's showing me his name and who he is. The other guy is listening to training. He's not even trying to like be part of this, like the one that's sitting next to him type thing. I finally got to be introduced and meet that guy, Gabrik. Okay, at this stage, then I grab a marker and my name tag that's yet to be filled out, and I write my name down, and I'm like, Karabo. That was such a beautiful way to introduce each other to each other. I'm so giddy when I think about that. I am a very emotional, sentimental, nostalgia type of human being. Even though this guy ended up like a bit of a menace in my situation, my life, my state, nonetheless, that was a very romantic moment. And like I said, I'm trying to leave my ex, and I'm thinking a powerful man is going to give him a run for his money, and I'm thinking maybe this dude is going to give my ex a run for his money. The way that I viewed power, frankly, was not even material per se, but I don't know, whatever. I did not understand what that prognosticator was trying to say, but I knew I had to leave my ex, and I imagined that the only way out was through another guy, because it was so impossible to get out on my own without help. Basically, he was like rehab, and like the Holy Spirit was like a drip that helps me not withdraw. Anyway, whatever. But I did not know that God was what I needed to leave this guy for. I thought it was just another dude, another boyfriend. So I was basically not looking for a boyfriend, but when I happened upon this guy, after those thoughts were running through my mind just like the week prior or the weeks prior, I thought it was fate. Here it is that I'm meeting this dude in training. He introduces himself to me, gives me a course pack, like, you know, the material that we were studying from, being trained from, and then opens to the page where everybody is at and shows me where everyone is at, and then pretty much lets me know that, you know, you can basically copy from my notes up until the place that we are at right now, but we haven't really done very much, so it's not like you're too far behind. It's not like you're 2 days late or whatever for training. Very well, that is essentially how I got introduced to this guy. And then in the break, right, he then speaks, because, you know, during training we had to honor the facilitator and whatnot. Guys, yes, I have a thing about manly men and deep voices. Kodwa mina namaZulu, yo. You know, I've had a thing about Zulu men for all of my life. On some, no, these guys are abusive, and then I fall in love with them. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, the majority of my boyfriends have been Zulu, and frankly I don't want to marry a Zulu man, but maybe I'm just generalizing here, I don't know. Okay, so this guy was Zulu, like Zulu type Zulu thing, and I gave him the name Zama, right? So it's perfect because it's also a Zulu name. Very well, this is Uzama. Then Gabri, like halfway mark, tea break type thing. He's like, so Karabo, yo, and this guy was so beautiful. I was like, his voice, deep, like what? Yo, so guys, and he was taller than I was like, oh, hot flashes. He's like, so Karabo. Well, I mean, glad of you to join us. Good of you to join us. So where do you come from? Type establishment thing. Instead of going for tea, instead of actually going to go and grab some tea, I should have actually gone to grab some tea because I wanted coffee. I had yet to have my first cup of coffee, but who in the world is trying to leave having a conversation with this guy like proper? I'll have coffee, got lunch. I'm not doing it. I'm not leaving. So he decides to sit and not have coffee and have a chat with his sister. And I then got like some details about him. He's like, yeah, no, it turns out that, people out here in these streets like to arrive late. I was also late. Hence why I'm sitting in this table that barely anybody is at. Both me and, let's say, the guy next to him, his name was Jabu. Hence me and Jabu are like, sitting here in the corner. It's like, was literally the only chair left. So, I was also sort of kind of late like you, but I got to got introduced to everybody. So, where do you work from? Yeah, okay, so he wasn't the only person talking, but he's this deep voice, like so serenading. It could have been music. Like, what in the world is going on over there, right? So we chat and I get to find out that he's new, like absolutely new. What made me believe that this is fate, this is God ordained. The thing that made me believe that this is fate in this guy's mind was how it is that we basically both almost never made it to that training. So like I said, I was late. So late that my colleague was like, what are you doing here? Fled, ran, drove at the speed of lightning to an opposite building and got to training 1 hour late. And where it is that I sat just happened to be next to this guy. How he found himself in training. He was brand spanking new in the company, and his boss had some kind of a last minute thing that he got called to, and his boss was supposed to be the one coming to training. I actually knew his boss. I later came to know that I knew his boss because his boss was he used to work in our main building, and then they moved the account managers over to that of his particular department over to the next door place. It turns out that in the time that he moved over, he got promoted, because at the time that I knew his boss when he was working in our building, he was just an account manager. So it looks like he got promoted to a, what do you call this thing? Like a key account manager, like the dude who is the boss of the account managers. Okay, very well. So yeah, I knew his boss. He was also like a young guy, but nonetheless, whatever, that boss guy got pulled out of that particular training. He got pulled out of it because he had to be somewhere. He was called into it real quick, and he was like, oh my goodness, we've already paid for training, and I don't want to have to reschedule this. I don't want the cost center to charge against my department. So Zama, you over there, new guy, I mean, you do have to, get your hours for your KPIs of training. Would you mind going to this training for me? Please go to this training for me. I feel like it would be beneficial for you. So yeah, let this be one of your first ways of training. So essentially, this dude was in his first week of employment at MTN, and his boss couldn't make training, and so his boss told him to come in for him. And he also was told that morning that I'm about to training because I've been pulled in, so he was not going to make it either. And he was also similarly late, but not nearly as late as I was. Perhaps he was like half an hour late and I was an hour late, right? So just enough for me, those facts, when they came together, I was like, oh my, I guess God does exist. Maybe this is the guy. Remember, I went to a party where some friend of mine done told me that I got soul ties and I'm married to 10 guys. 5. Right? All the guys that I ever slept with, type thing. And then I'm thinking I'll never get married. And then next thing, I pray. I started praying, right? I started praying because of that little evangelistic endeavor at the club. And I imagined that this was my answered prayer. I also had these thoughts in my mind that only way out of this is out of this relationship that I'm in with my boyfriend is to another guy. And the next thing, I met a guy in training that wasn't supposed to be there. I almost never made it. And because we were both late, we ended up sitting in the same place. And I was like, women, you will make it fit. Like, you will make it fit even though it don't fit. So yeah, I'm chatting with this dude, find out how he found himself got training type establishment thing, and that's the conversation we had. And then he then looked at my hair and was like, you've got such beautiful hair. So here is this guy busy complimenting a sister. Like I said, my afro was out, and he was like, you've got such beautiful hair. It's actually quite refreshing. It's almost as if though he was kind of lamenting against weaves or whatever. I don't care. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. It's ironic because frankly, I want to put it back inside some plaids because it's so high maintenance, but thanks, like, appreciate it type setup thing. We had this conversation, like, just basically getting to warm up and know each other as colleagues that are working in the same, that are sort of kind of being trained together. And then tea time ended, and at this point my heart is like boom boom, like boom boom, like boom boom, like boom boom. Okay, like, I've got a mad crush on this dude. I'm flustered. You get my point. I am flustered and I'm nervous, and I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on? So that training lasted 2 days. It was a 2-day training, and because of how much this guy was, I can't really say, was he flirting? Yes, he was flirting, but he was very engaged with me the entire time. Maybe he was just like, she's a nice girl, whatever, so we're gonna chat. Or he could have actually been flirting. The fact that he did not ask for my number at the end of that whole thing, or even look for me, I was disappointed. I was like, oh guy, just like that, so pela ganjena, training it fella just like this, just like that. This is what we're doing? Really? Anyway, whatever. So the second day of training, we now had to do role play, negotiation, like employing basically all the training that we had gained. And this dude was like, I'll partner with you, Karabo. Like, he chose me. So the dude that was sitting with us had to go and partner with somebody else. And during the role play where I was the negotiatee and he was the negotiator, as I'm busy talking to him, he froze. Like, his whole facial expression changed. And it's like he entered into a space where he was like, whoa. It's almost as if though he was thinking in his mind, she's so beautiful. Something in him froze to a point where he started to stumble over his words, even though he was quite an eloquent guy. And I had to improv the way he was so choky, like pretty much add words onto it on some, okay, it's time to respond now, guy. And then he responded, at which point I was like, this guy likes me. He likes me so much that he literally got lost in my eyes when I was talking to him. He's gonna ask for my number at the end of this thing, I'm pretty sure. This is it. This is the guy. We get along. And on top of that, both of us we're smart, with this and that, we're compatible. Like, it's proper, like, it just makes sense. Yeah, zama kimo moto training ya fella, bye, okay, see you around. What are you doing? Like, why are you letting me go? I was so flustered over Zama that I was like, I'm not letting this guy go. Foster, that was God's grace, frankly. I was supposed to just let it go at that stage, but instead I knew Zama with his surname, so I looked for him on Facebook. He was in the company. Obviously you could find him on the active directory. Could not care less. I'm not gonna send this guy an email. I want to see impilo yake. So I took a chance and I googled him on my Facebook. I searched for him on Facebook. I found him, and even though I was low-key nervous to invite him as a friend, I did. I asked him to be a friend, and I told myself that I'm gonna leave it at that. Understand, I've got a boyfriend and my Facebook is teeming at the folds with my boyfriend. And after getting into his Facebook account is one of those it's yawning, no security, like you can go and page through the whole world of things that are on there, and unsecured at all. You did not have to be his friend in order to see what's going on. So I could have basically just kind of low-key stalked him without him knowing, but I wanted him to notice me. I basically imagined myself as a Ruth on his threshing floor without even knowing the Bible. I imagined that if I put myself at the threshing floor of Boaz, he will realize, Kingsman Redeemer, that I'm his wife. I wanted to get married, and I was like, this guy's perfect. In his Facebook, I found out that he had a kid. Alright? I found out that he had a kid, a daughter. I didn't want a guy unanalungwana, but this guy was just so incredibly fly that I was like, I'll make a concession just for him. That was the first compromise in me for this guy. But anyway, when I told myself that I don't care, I was like, yeah, the kid was really, really young. So I was like, I'll stepmom, whatever, who cares? I want this guy. I told you his Facebook was yawning. Yeah, Tommy. So I also discovered that he had a girlfriend, a long-term girlfriend, been there for a minute type setup thing. And Garabo, she's vain, so she starts thinking, am I prettier? Do I have a better body? Do I have better credential stats? What? Like, it was just messed up, and I came to a conclusion that I literally came to a conclusion that I'm crazy. I was like, you're not the kind of girl to kick another woman out the picture. You just don't do that. It's not who you are. Like, what are you doing? This woman, like, leave her alone. Like, leave the main chick alone. Now you were the bane. You have had the bane of your existence. Was it Jezebel that kept on calling your man, girl? Kept on calling your man. How you gonna be a hypocrite like that? Stop it. Like, cease and desist. Like, proper. Stop trying to compare yourself to a man's woman that's been around for a minute. Like, yeah, like, I was proper trying to compare. Am I pretty? It doesn't matter. Tlohela ngwana batho, mo tlogele. For 5 seconds I was thinking, menace out the door. I was lost, you guys. I didn't know Jesus, but conviction of the Holy Spirit was knocking on my door. It was like heaven's door, knock, knock, knocking on heaven. I see him knocking on heaven's door. Conviction was knocking, but I was still literally just crazy. So I tried really hard to leave the poor woman alone. Their life, right? Him and this woman, they looked really happy on Facebook, and they had really built a life together, like a very intricate one at that. They traveled all over the world. They were like, yeah, and I was like, on top of that, I was like, you like proper, you don't even have a passport, like leave them alone. You're gonna be boring for this guy. He's going to be like, yo, this woman has never even left South Africa, so okay. But him and his woman were in Berlin, him and his woman were in Paris. Like what? They had a fabulous relationship. So at that point I was like, there's no competition here. He's just gonna look at me as this flat lady that I never left the country, and he's okay. I'm not gonna be able to tell him about the Van Gogh statue that was stolen from where was it stolen? France? Like in the leave him. Leave. Lost the guy 8. And another thing that made me really be like, Karabo, you gotta let this go. Like it's like, yes, the Holy Spirit, God was basically saying, this is not it. Usatane is trying to make you settle for something that you should not be settling for. Do not seduce this guy. Do not open your life to him, that he might be stumbled severely in whatever it is that he is in, because obviously he likes you. He's crushing on you, and you're stumbling already. You know that. Do not capitalize on indaba utatazeli in training. When he was looking into your eyes, he thought he was seeing the sun and the moon. Leave him alone. Men get triggered and stumbled every so often where they work in the office, where they study in school, by women that they imagine beautiful. But at the end of the day, really, you got a wife. At the end of the day, really, you got a girlfriend, and really, you can't be with them all. So leave him alone. He did a good thing. He was smart. He was wise. He made a decision to not allow what he imagined to be the gorgeous lady that walked into training to mess or massacre the relationship that he had. Like, it ain't broke, girl, and you are trying to fix it. Like, right? He's not single. If he was yours, he'd be single. Type establishment thing. That was not the only thing that slapped me upside the head like a whoops, okay? Because a whoops upside the head. Anyway, whatever. That was not the only thing. Hey, Shazzy, Johannesburg. Why you gotta be so small? Why? What's with the tan in it? Yes. This guy went to high school of 2 of my ex-boyfriends. Make that 3. One of the ex-boyfriends had passed away. Okay, I'm gonna briefly tell you that story. Okay. When I was 16, I decided that I'm gonna start dating. I want to know what it's like to kiss, right? And I was not even like really sure what in the world it entails to be in a relationship. So for me, it was like, insofar as I'm just like kissing a boy and I like it, I'm good. So the first dude that, when I was ready to finally get kissed, that asked me out, I was like, ugh, okay. I didn't like him. I went on a holiday, like school holidays, with my cousin to go and visit a cousin of my cousin. Like, she was not my cousin, but she was my cousin's cousin. You know how that works, right? Ramochakela, go Leondale. And yeah, well, during that same holiday, we hung out with the boys that lived in that hood. And boys in the hood, get it? Anyway, hanging out with the boys in the hood. And I met the guy that would in the future be my first love, and the guy who broke my virginity first. And I thought he was cute. He was adorable. He had these like yawning dimples, blah blah whatever. But he was busy making out and smooching with the girl, the girl who lived there, that was my cousin's cousin. So I was like, okay, I guess he's off limits, whatever. And then later that same day, another dude rocked up, and he was tall and dark. And because I'm tall and dark, everybody was like, you guys would look really good together. And this guy had a crush on me, like mad feelings. And so like he like pursued me. And since everybody was like, you guys should be together, I was like, okay. So he asked me out, and I was like, I've never had a boyfriend before, so I guess, okay, you'll be my boyfriend. That is how I dated my first boyfriend. I had no feelings, I had no crush, and that was my first kiss. I finally got to do it. Anyway, I didn't like him though. However, the other other dude that I met first, I was busy snuggling and snooching with my cousin's cousin. It turned out that he liked me, and he told my cousin, he was like, look, okay, fine. So I might have met, let's say my cousin's name was Posy. He was like, okay, fine. So I met Posy first, but Posy and I were just like making out. I wasn't trying to make a girlfriend out of her. I like your cousin. Like, come on. They said my cousin's name was Rara Rara. He was like, Rara Rara, come on. I'm not really feeling Posy. I like her. She's fly. I like her. Like, as in I want to make her my woman. Yeah, this guy was the first to make it clear that he likes me. But like I said, he was busy making out with my cousin, and this other tall guy, everyone was like, oh, you guys would look good together, because like I was a tall lanky girl and this dude was the tallest lankiest guy there, and they just figured that because there's all this tall and lanky business going on, baya fanela, now they suit each other on whatever. So I dated somebody even though I had a crush on someone else. And again, that someone else was busy making out with my cousin's cousin, so really, we're not trying to like stab no family in the back. She wasn't my family, she was my cousin's family. Anyway, whatever. Hey, you know you don't have Jesus. Morality is so relative. Anyway, whatever. Cool visa manana. So I dated the dude that was the first guy that I kissed, and I like it. For like 5 seconds. I was just, oh goodness gracious. Yeah, no, but like we pretended we were friends, me and what name did I give him? Zumzozo, man, the guy that was busy making out with Posy, right? He, Zumzozo, because we had feelings for each other and they were like quite haughty, we stayed friends, we contacted each other, we used to call each other every single day. Like every single day. My first love ever, that was him. Every single day, and we pretended that it was a friendship. He was friends with the guy that was my boyfriend. Let's call my boyfriend Bazi. Yeah, no, he was friends with Bazi. And my boyfriend, my this guy that would soon become my boyfriend, used to make out with my cousin's cousin, who was Posy. And now Zazi, who was the guy that would ultimately become my boyfriend. Him and I pretended that we just we just peoples. We just good peoples. You know, he's my boy and I'm his girl. That's all, we friends. But we were obviously in love. And we called each other every single day, and it got to a point where we basically schemed and plotted. We were like, we have to be together. So this friend of his, we were like, I'm sorry, like it hurts, because he was like such a sweet guy and what have you. But look, we like each other, so we're gonna be together type thing. And he was like, he's my boy, I'm also hurting my boy, so I guess we're gonna take the bullet together. And yeah, look, I broke up with his boy Bazi, you know, on his birthday. Like, who does that? Like, on his birthday I dumped him. I remember he called me afterward. I called him, I was like, it's over, it's done. He was like, today's his birthday, why did you? I was like, don't come act holier than thou, sanctimonious, self-righteous. Yeah, because we all agreed that I'm gonna leave your boy and then we're gonna start being together. So yeah, I did stuff like that. He was my first love. This guy was my first love, and when I was 17, he took my, you know, ladyhood, he took my virginity and whatnot, and yeah, I was in love, like heavy, and that was my first like proper sort of kind of serious relationship ever. And yeah, I basically dated a guy's friend after dating a guy. Yeah, my first kiss was his friend, and then my second kiss was his friend. Yeah, the first guy I kissed was the friend of the guy who broke my virginity. That was like, if I was not a virgin, I would have probably been called a hoe. Anyway, whatever, right? So that is what happened, right? All these guys went to a particular high school in the East Rand of Johannesburg. Yeah, that's my history right there. So I broke a guy's heart, and I ended up not staying. We broke up, obviously, eventually, with the first love ever, and that's another story for another day. I'm not going to expand on it. Now that we have said that, prior to me meeting this whole crew of friends, I remember my cousin, I guess she was already dating a guy that lived in that neighborhood, and that's why she insisted on going to visit her cousin Kadi holiday, so she could be close to her boyfriend and see him every single day during the school holidays, right? So she had met the whole crew of guys first, like early, like she had known them for months by the time I got to meet my boyfriend, right? And she had met this one guy, and she used to go to this east of Johannesburg, Leon Ladies Parade View, that whole side. She used to travel there, Gadi taxi, Leo, her best friend from Soweto. They would travel all the way there in Jabaloplamali, these guys. And I remember one school holiday, like visiting my cousin Kohabona Kotladi, right? And they were having a conversation because this friend of hers also used to live in Komeletsane, not far, right? And they would connect. And I was sitting with them chilling, you know, us three girls, teenagers. Her friend was 2 years older than us, so she was like 19 and we were like 17. and they were chatting about this crew of like hot boys in the east of Joburg that they somehow met. I don't know how you connected with people that far away in another, like, it might as well be another province. Anyway, whatever. It's not another province, but it might as well be. Okay, they were busy chatting about these hot boys, and then I was like, just listening on some, okay, you guys made cute boys. That's all that it was. But one stuck out. One hot boy stuck out. And my cousin was saying, she said, when she was busy describing this guy with this, I gave him his name is Zama. I gave him the name Zama, right? They were busy discussing this guy with this friend, and they were telling me about this crew of boys, hot. And then they described one guy, and they were like, yo, but this is one. His name is Zama, but we call him Zama, because he's so beautiful. He's so handsome, and they said that he looked like Eric Benet. At the time, Eric Benet was a thing. He was hot stuff. Like what? He was out just serenading all them young ladies across the world with his music. So when they described him as Eric Benet, looking like Eric Benet, I was like, wow, he must be really handsome, because Eric Benet, y'all know Eric Benet, that musician in the US, y'all know he was fly, right? So I was like, if this Zama guy looks like Eric Benet, then I guess you guys know some pretty hot guys. That's what's good. Apparently Lomuntu looked like Eric Benet, but I didn't know him. And my cousin and her and my girl was spazzing over him, saying that his name is not even Zama, but it's Zama proper. His real name is a Zulu name, a 2-syllable Zulu name. That indeed they added honey to it instead of, like, literally, if his name was Busiso, they would have said it's like Sibusisu. Spoke it like in a like romanticized flirty way. Yeah. So they were like, no, this is not Zama, we call him Zama. And I was like, wow, okay, Zama that looks like Eric Benet. Literally left it at that at the tiny age of 16 going on 17. Ultimately, I get months down the line to meet these guys. I never met Zama, but I did meet Pazzi, what do you call him? Zazi, whatever, the one that eventually became my boyfriend, Bazi, the one that was my first boyfriend, and then the one that was my second boyfriend, right? Bazi and I lasted like maybe like a month dating, right? Before I left him for Pazzi. And that was like a taboo on its own, but I was a virgin girl that had never been kissed so proper. Like, I get to choose who in the world I break my virginity with. Like, it's not going to be somebody I don't love, type thing that I don't like, whatever. That's what was going on over there. And I dated Pazzi for a couple of months. It like, yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. And it ended. My whole stint in that side of Johannesburg ended when that relationship ended. Years down the line, when I was in university, I would then meet a dude that belonged to a boy band, a hidden force, right, that went to the same high school as these guys, but he was younger than them and was not necessarily closer with them. I met him completely differently. I was working at Rosebank Mall as a casual. He walked in, he was like, oh, she's cute, whatever. We did it for like all of 5 seconds. He was irresponsible, so I was not prepared to stay there, type setup thing. So, and I was also very uncomfortable of dating a guy that went to the same high school as my exes. I like proper, I'm not trying to be known as the chick that has been with like a whole bunch of guys from the same high school. So when that ended, I was like, whatever. I was not comfortable anyway, because one day I was going to go to a party and bump into my ex, and it was going to make me uncomfortable. Plus, I was still kind of in love with my ex, and I did not really necessarily love this guy that much. So for me, it was like, I'm not trying to have myself be looked at like that. Like, there's already like a little bit of a taboo story from back in the day. So that's what happened. So 3 guys basically that I dated went to this high school. What in the world? I live in the south of Johannesburg. At some point, I lived in the west of Joburg, and I was busy somehow strangely dating 3 guys from the same high school. King Kanali's friend. I was like, hey, we're not doing this. Anyway, here it is that I'm a grown woman now. You know, providence, the Lord's providence is another thing altogether. How he orchestrates things and shares conviction with people. Like, it's just on another level. So I find this guy on Facebook, and I just get so freaking disappointed. Why? Because first of all, in going to his information, I learned that he went to this high school. I then learned what year he was born. He was born in 1980. So he likely knew these guys, because Kaufela, they were like 1980, 81, 82, 83, right? Kiski, Badula in the same neighborhood. I was like, what are the odds that this guy does not know my 2 exes? The other one had passed away. He died in a motorcycle accident, all right? So I was like, what are the odds that these guys don't know my 2 exes? I don't want to date a guy that like people from long ago, dirty laundry, gonna be like, yo, this girl, she was my girl first, and then my girl. I just did not want that reputation. I did not want that issue. But I liked this guy so much that I was literally proper trying to pretend that it's not even a thing. It would never have worked out. Lo and behold, I go inside this guy's pics. and I find out that he's actually quite tight with my first ever boyfriend, the one that was like, oh, kiss the guy, you know, like my first ever kiss. That guy was so in love with me. I remember one time he bumped into me at Wits, go Kind Center, and I was at Wits University at that stage. I'd sort of kind of grown up a little bit, and he saw me and he still wanted to get back together with me. I was like, whoa, dude, I betrayed you with your boy and you still want me? I was like, what a good guy you are, but it's not gonna work. I can't. I'm not going back into that space. Plus, on top of that, I didn't really have feelings for him. That dude, okay, hey, Bazaza, the one that I heard, the one that I kissed and left on his birthday, tight. Like, he was in a lot of photos of this guy, and I Nikki Foster, since Nikki Pusha on some girl, you were gonna hurt Bazaza again. What in the world? It was never gonna work. Like, even if this dude decided, like, okay, I've met a girl, I like her, and introduce her to his boys were gonna be like, yeah, they were gonna unconvince him of me. I knew it was never gonna work. Mara sisters na Foster. Nikki Foster. When I saw that not only does he have a girlfriend, but he also went to the same high school as 3 of my exes, one of whom has passed away at that stage. And the guy that I broke, whose heart I broke, he was close, like, as in his immediate friendship circle. Nelim Benja, like, could have been even a best friend. I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. It's not gonna work. And again, I also came to the conclusion that if at all he knows Bazaza, he definitely knows Bazaza. I forgot what I gave the name of my boyfriend, the one that I did love, right? He definitely must also know that guy. So I was like, he's so. And after coming to that conclusion, I was like, oh. I was like, this is the guy. And I came humbly to an agreement with my girlfriends when we were 17 and 19 respectfully that he looked like Eric Benet. He did. He looked like Eric the proper. Like, I got it. I got why my girls were like, yo, there is some dude in that crew of guys. Oh, shizang. And he looks like Eric Benet. I remember that conversation as clear as day. And I was like, oh, so this is Zama. I agree that he's actually Zama instead of just Zama, because he was really beautiful. He was a gorgeous guy. He was tall. He was so smart. Like, everything about him was just proper perfect. Okay, at that stage I couldn't be with this guy. It was obvious. Anyway, I stayed his friend. I didn't push beyond, like, Facebook. Like, I was his friend on Facebook and that was it, right? I told myself that I'm just gonna be at a distance, but I liked him so much that I kept on checking out his pics. I checked on, like, yeah, literally I kept on comparing myself to his girlfriend, wondering, can I do, like, you know, am I better, whatnot. The whole time I kept on telling myself that no, I can't, and the thing, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. Stop comparing yourself to a woman that's been here for a minute. She's his ride or die. She's his medi. You have had a Jezebel all up in your grill, making like a tick in your hair, and you could not stand it. You don't want to be that in that girl's hair. Like, don't you be no hypocrite, Garaba, don't do it. Did I listen? Hey, next part.